Hey guys, welcome back to AZ Triumphster. So, as you could tell by the thumbnail picture, I have a Kawasaki KZ400 dilemma. And I'm hoping that some of you guys out there watching this, just give me your opinion on what I should do here. Or maybe you have experience with this motorcycle or experiences with Japanese vintage motorcycles and have some insight on where I might be able to find what I need to make some sense of this whole thing. But so here's how the story goes. I acquired a 1979 Kawasaki KZ400 some time ago. I won't get into the details about how I acquired that because I did a video on that a while ago. But the bike was not running when I got it. And the person who I acquired it from valued it at about $600. And clean title. It was a bit of hoop jumping to get the title, but that's done. And the tires were shot, the brakes, the master cylinders were shot. Well, the front master cylinder, the rear's a drum. But my initial idea was to do like this intricate bobber hardtail, this whole design I came up with. But once I kind of ballpark priced it out, it was going to be like thousands of dollars, and it's only 400 cc's. And I'm not the type that holds on to a bike forever. Maybe 2-3 years, whatever, and then I sell it. So if I'm going to sell something that I've put $4,000 to $6,000 into, and it's only 400 cc's, it's a Japanese motorcycle, I figure I'm not going to get nearly as much out of it as I put into it. So I decided to go a different route, like a tracker. Tracker is a very straightforward build and a lot less invasive. Heck, most folks can not have to do much cutting or welding at all and just pull factory parts on and slap bolt-on parts on, and there you have it. This is kind of the idea. I mean, some custom touches, but with that said, I started digging into the bike here. I'll kind of show you what I got going on. Gosh, if I kind of track this back to where I started with it, I had it up on the lift and just started taking it apart. As you can see on the frame itself, I did some cutting and grinding, just needs some cleanup. And just kind of messed with those parts of it while I did some other things. For example, like this is the top triple, and as you know, it comes with the bracketry for like the gauges and stuff, which I cut off, and I put this in a mill and cleaned it up. And this is just rattle can to try and show any sort of like areas I need to clean up, like that little gouge right there. But just kind of breaking it down and simplifying the thing overall. I mean, I kept all the factory parts, side covers, undertail, gauges, springs, and whatnot. The forks, the damper rods in the forks had some pitting, so I ended up buying a secondary set of forks and building a pair with some Race Tech progressive springs. Fresh. These are satin coated, new seals and boots. Basically like, factory quality. Heck, maybe better. I don't know. Progressive, Race Tech springs, pretty good, right? But yeah, I went through all that stuff. I bought all new bearings for the wheels and the steering head and the swing arm and all that. And it was kind of cool. Brand new Pirelli tires on this thing. I want like a polished or brushed aluminum or in between sort of look for the bits and pieces, like the wheels, the handlebars, the brake drum, some of the linkage and stuff. So I looked at, what is it going to cost to relace the wheels, get all the pieces polished? And I was like, screw that. I literally just took everything apart and had it coated. This is powder coat. It's called Super Chrome. And frankly, I think it turned out fantastic. Had the tires mounted, had the wheels balanced, bearings are in there. Bing, bang, boom. Awesome. Gosh, what else did I do? Oh, yeah. like I said, bits and pieces coated. So like, you know, some of your wheel components coated to match super chrome. Here's the brake lever and the drum cover, the push drive, right? Yeah. So did all that. And so right here, you might be thinking, you know, if it wasn't running when you got it, why did you start digging into it and spending a bunch of time and money? Great point. Which that realization didn't come until I started getting into the motors. So it was over Christmas. I had some time off work. My son, who's 9, has an engineer sort of mechanical mind, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to start from the top down and start tearing into this motor and learn some stuff along the way. So that's exactly what we did. And there was a lot of things as we got into it that I more or less expected to see, because I've been into, I had a CB750, I had so 78 CB750, 78 GL1000, 81 XS650, 79 XS500, and now I'm onto this Cowie. So I've seen cylinder heads and valves, tops of pistons that really speak to the age of the motorcycle and maybe lack of maintenance and whatnot. So getting into the top of the motor, you know, there were certainly some things that I expected to see, you know. Let's see if I can get a better, there you go. Nasty valves. Gosh, what else? I mean, the rocker arms and the springs and the cam, I mean, all that, even the cam chain was in great shape. You know, here's your cylinder head, all your pieces here. And all that was in good shape. You know, like I said, I expected the valves would be gross, which they are. I've seen that before, not a big deal. Tops of the pistons, you know, like I said, I expected a little bit of this. This is pretty rough. But here's where it starts to get a little interesting. So once we got the cylinders off, you know, slid the cylinder off, basically got to this point, and I could actually look at the pistons. This is where it gets a little interesting. You've got all of that, and then that's so awesome. Yeah. And then, where is it? Let me find it here. Not this piston so much, but this one has some scoring. Where'd it go? Right there. Sweet. So cool. So awesome. And the rings were brittle as hell. They just came right apart, just kind of like broke apart with any sort of force or tension on them. As part of that, you get into the cylinders themselves. Let's see if I can lift this up and do it. And there's a little bit of scoring, perpendicular scoring inside the cylinders themselves. So, not an optimal situation, but I know that the KZ400 and the KZ440 being almost identical, the parts are plentiful. You know, whether it's aftermarket or companies that are making like OE, or even finding original parts on eBay or whatever, the parts are plentiful. And at this point, I'm still not terribly concerned. Certainly the questions start arising like, how did this run before it was parked? I mean, frankly, you know, those types of things affect runnability, right? Like, but anyways, so at this point, you know, now it's time to pull the side covers off, or drain the oil, etc. And here's where things get a little surprising, a little disappointing, and where this is where I really want to know your guys' opinion on this, because once I got into, let's take a look, into the ignition side of it, well, I'll have to pop a picture up here and show you instead, because I really can't describe it without you seeing. I mean, you know, here's the points. It's a little oxidized. You got little bit of rust, right? But this part here is replaceable, you know. So is wiring. You can clean this stuff up. But what's a little more of an issue is the condition that the was like a timing shaft or ignition shaft was in. I mean, gosh, the clutch basket's in fantastic shape. Even the clutch plates, surprisingly. I mean, I'd still replace those and probably get new clutch springs, but very minor expense. Unlike these ignition pieces, which now that I've derusted them, soaked them, by the way, this stuff is fantastic. But now that I've soaked these parts, the point, the contact point for the points is supposed to be this shaft. Sure, it doesn't have rust anymore, but look at that horrible pitting. So, frankly, I don't, unless you guys know of some way to use this or remedy it, I'm finding that this part isn't made anymore. Nobody sells it new. It doesn't look like anyone has it off of a bike that's, you know, maybe was never used or anything, or extremely lightly used. And the ones that I did find that look like they may be usable, likely usable, are extremely expensive. It's the whole assembly. It's the arms, the springs, and everything. And I have all those pieces, but it doesn't matter because they don't sell the pieces individually. They sell it as one. And we're talking north of $100, like more like 150 to 200. Some of these, most of them are outside of the United States, and then on top of that is going to be conversion and shipping. So I'm looking at something like, I would expect to spend 65 to 75 bucks to rebuild a clutch, right? You know, friction plates, springs, boom, done, right? Easy peasy. If I needed to get a new points, new contact, great. But this piece, like being like $200 or more, that's frustrating. Like, I don't know if at this point now, uncovering that, should I, unless again, you guys know something I don't, please tell me, because at this point I'm really considering just stopping where I am and parting this thing out, because this comes back full circle to that, dumping so much money into something. And heck, even if I was going to keep it, like, it's a 400, is it worth it at this point? Like, it's not like it's a CB750, you know, it's not like it's a Triumph, right? Because that'd be cool. But anyways, and the last thing is the drain plug. It's going to be a little difficult to see this. So you can see the threads are a little jacked up. And I haven't really gotten, well, you know what? I don't know. Let's see how this goes. If I can get a decent view on the drain plug without dropping my phone in this oil. How much would that suck? So I am having trouble telling if there's an issue with the threads. Maybe I can clean up the threads and still get it to work. Just get a new drain plug and crush washer. But the fact is this, you know, the drain plug came out just fine. It drained oil just fine. There was nothing that I saw coming out of the oil or anything floating. I haven't run a magnet through the oil yet to check. Even the drain plug itself was clean. But then trying to thread this back in and picking up pieces of metal and whatnot in the threads of this, I didn't want to have to split this case, but I am extremely, oops, there we go. I am extremely concerned that there's metal shavings or pieces or particulates in there that if I don't, and I don't address it, and I for whatever reason spend the money and time to put this back together, that it's going to end up being something catastrophic. So, yeah. That's where this all kind of lands. I mean, I'm looking in here and, gosh, can I get maybe some sort of, there we go. That's better. I mean, it looks pretty clean in here. Even the cam chain guide is all right. Now that we have the light on this, let's take another look in here.
Focus. There we go. Yeah, maybe it's just the threads. But
anyways, so back to the question at hand. And I put this out there to you guys, subscribers, viewers, friends in the motorcycle world, and people, just to share your honest opinion. If you've been into a motorcycle, whether it's a full-on build or just something that you expect to be a running project, whatever the case is, tell me what you think. Is this the point of no return where it's like I should just throw in the towel, start parting this thing out? Or is there some ideas you have, some solutions? Or do you really think the KZ400/KZ440 is just that fun or good of a motorcycle that it's worth it to stick with it at this point? Please tell me. Yeah, I'm curious to know. You know, if this was interesting to you, or maybe comical, as this is kind of like I've just kind of been bouncing my way through this, figuring it out as I go, then hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. If I get enough responses and do something significant with this, obviously I'll keep you guys posted. The idea of the tracker I have is really cool. You know, if it ends up going that way, I'll do it, but who knows? So let me know, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Stay safe out there.